I'm John from John Asch Contracting, third generation roofing contractor. Today is another Wacky Wednesday video. Good morning. Now, if you're watching this and it's not morning, that's complicated. It's morning now. You may watch it, it may not be morning, but let's not get into that. It's a complicated situation. Going back to the video, this is approximately the fourth video about comics. And why I say approximately, because I'm old and decrepit and I forget shit. So anyhow, this is just a random thought. Going back when I was about yo-high at my grandmother's house in Pennsylvania, I used to go up there with my mom a couple times a year, and we'd be there for a couple days, and they would give me $1, a whole dollar bill. And a short walk down the road, maybe 5 or 6 houses down, was a little store. And for that dollar bill, I buy 3 or 4 12-cent comic books. I buy a 15 or maybe it was a 10-cent wooden airplane, a balsa plane with a rubber band propeller thingy. I buy a little box of peas. I get a straw and a twin ice pop, which were a nickel apiece, and maybe some penny candy. I'd be set, I'd be shit for $1. It was wonderful. Then I'd walk back, eating the popsicle on my way back, because that would melt fast, get back on my grandmother's porch, and I'd read my 4 comic books. Back then, I wasn't yet a Marvel snob, which is what they call me, people like me nowadays. I read Marvel and DC, and back in those days, my favorite comic was The Metal Men, which was a bunch of artificially AI people in the brain, but they all had different metal capabilities called the Metal Men. So anyhow, the whole point of the story, sort of, was we were 2 doors down in the other direction from a school. And after every day at a proper time, the school bell would ring, and all the kids about my age would walk out, and I'd be on my grandmother's front porch. There's a number of steps. And as the girls went by, I'd be ready. I'd have my little box of peas, and I have my straw, aka a pea shooter, and I'd be shooting peas at the little girls, and I wasn't a very good shot, but I would get one every once in a while. So the girls would be all pissed off. They'd be yelling at me, and some of the bigger girls would start walking towards me. I said, you can't walk on my grandmother's steps, you'll get in trouble. So they kind of, at that age, would listen and walk away. So I was safe and never got in trouble. But that was the very beginning of my comic book days. I was maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. I can't recall. Loved comics back then. The comics I was reading back then, which were 12 cents, today, $1,000, $700. I wish I would have kept all of them comics. Here's one of my favorite comics. This exact comic cover and Silver Surfer and all the various heroes and villains that you normally see around the Silver Surfer. One of my favorite comics. This cover is a special cover for me. This was a low distribution cover. Thor and Silver Surfer, who are both heroes, are getting ready to square off here. Great cover. This is a Batman cover. Obviously, I'm not a real big DC guy, but a lot of the earlier DC comics, the Supermans, the Batmans, a lot of the really early 10, 12-cent stuff, it brings back a lot of memories from when I was really young. So although I'm not that much into the stories, the front covers kind of do it for me. This is one I wish I bought a lot sooner. I bought this just last year. This is the Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1. And interesting story, about 10 or 12 years ago, I don't remember when exactly, I was at a flea market, and I bought 9 copies of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael #1. I paid $3 a piece for them, not knowing what they would be worth. Now they're worth a couple $100 each. I'm thinking about $300 each and near mint. At a comic convention, a guy gave me $200, or let me think for a second, about $150 each in trade. So I had somewhere about $14.50 in trade. This comic was about $2,000, so I traded those 9 comics in somewhere about $600 in cash and got this great comic that I could have got for a goddamn quarter back in 1968, but like an idiot, I didn't buy 1,000 copies. This is another copy of Silver Surfer #5. This happens to be in the case, and for those of you who are not comic guys, this is something new that started a number of years ago. You send your comics out, they grade them professionally, put them in a case that won't reopen unless you crack the case. And that way future people have a guarantee of the condition of the comic, and therefore it's easier to price it. This was somewhere a little over $1,000 when I got it. These are just a few of my somewhat favorite ones. This is Rambling, We're Going On. And if you're not into comics, and you don't like comics, and you think poorly of comics, then you shouldn't be watching this. Please go away. Anyhow, have a pleasant morning.